Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pursuant to the general provisions, Article 3-305 and 3-104, the Board of Education of Queen Anne's County met in a closed session to discuss the appointment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, and any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals.
Now that that's been read, can I get a motion to move into open session?
I'm going to make a motion to move in open session at 6:03 p.m.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry. We're gonna keep moving forward. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
And can I get a motion to approve?
Can I make a motion to approve the Queen Anne's County Board agenda on April 2nd as presented?
I second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
In the essence of time, since this is our first full meeting in 2 months, hopefully everybody has reviewed the minutes for the working sessions that we've done. Can I get a motion for the February 5th, open and closed, February 19th, budget work session, February the 26th, budget work session, and the March 19th, open session?
Can I make a motion to approve the February 5th open and closed session, the February 19th open budget work session, the February 26th, the open budget work session, and also the March 19th open budget work session?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And then we get to the fun part, Energizer Bunny.
Good evening. So I have several awards this evening because we're doubling up, so we're super excited. The first awards are our Energizer Bunny Awards. This award is given to a staff member or volunteer who keeps on going. It is sponsored by Bayview Financial with Mr. Chip Brittingham and Mr. Wayne Humphreys, if they'll please come forward. Give me a thumbs up. Ray, are we good? We're okay? Okay. All right. So the first Energizer Bunny Award was nominated by the Kent Island High School administrative team. So if they'll all come forward. I think we have several of them in here today. And the Energizer Bunny is Tracy Betcher. If she'll please come forward. The Kent Island High School administrative team says that Tracy is the embodiment of dedication, enthusiasm, and unwavering commitment to the students of Kent Island High School. As a paraeducator, she goes above and beyond to support student success, bringing energy and passion to everything she does. Tracy also leads the largest unified team in the state of Maryland. Wow, that was fantastic. Fostering an inclusive environment where students of all disabilities can thrive, compete, and build long-lasting friendships. Tracy's tireless dedication to her students and school community makes her more than deserving of the Queen Anne's County Public School Energizer Bunny Award. So congratulations, Tracy. Our second Energizer Bunny Award was nominated by the Ken Island Elementary School team. And their Energizer Bunny is Mr. Francis Cruz. Mrs. Barletta says that Mr. Cruz is the most dedicated custodian that she's ever had the privilege of working with during her tenure time here in Queen Anne's County. Mr. Cruz takes pride in his work, and it shows at Ken Island Elementary School and as one of the cleanest schools in the district. When he sees something that needs to be fixed, cleaned, or replaced, he does it in a timely manner. When another custodian is out and shifts need to be covered, he offers to work overtime and even works on the weekends to make sure that his job is complete. Not only is he willing to do this for our school, but also for other schools in the county. Mr. Cruz works the daytime shift at Ken Island Elementary School, and the students look forward to seeing him at breakfast and at lunch. Many students seek him out during the day to talk with him as well. We could not ask for a better custodian, and we are so lucky to have you, Mr. Cruz, at Ken Island Elementary School. Our next award is the Spirit Award. This award is given to an individual who embodies the spirit of Queen Anne's County Public Schools. This was nominated again by the Ken Island High School administrative team. If they'll please come forward. And their Spirit Award for this month was Debbie Parsons. The Ken Island administrative team says that Debbie Parsons is the heart and soul of Ken Island High School, embodying the very spirit of Queen Anne's County Public Schools with her unwavering dedication, professionalism, and care of our school community. As the principals and lead secretary, Debbie has been an essential part of Ken Island High School since its opening, ensuring that everything runs smoothly behind the scenes. Her commitment goes far beyond her job description. She is the steady hand that keeps the school on course and the problem solver who keeps the ship sailing no matter the challenges. Debbie's impact is immeasurable, and her passion in supporting students, staff, and families makes her truly deserving of the Queen Anne's County Public School Spirit Award. Congratulations, Debbie. And the second set of Spirit Awards are nominated by the team at Mattapique Elementary School. If they'll please come forward. And this Spirit Award is going to 3 individuals that will all come up together, and that is Heather Hubert, Amy Geddick, and Tina Salder. Oh, Tina's not able to leave. Mrs. Kovich says that Mattapique Elementary School is extremely fortunate to have these 3 amazing full-time special education paraprofessionals. Heather, Amy, and Tina are all extremely dedicated and worthy of this month's Spirit Award. And when we need extra coverage in the classroom, they are more than happy to step right up wherever they are needed. Whether they are in the classroom, the cafeteria, or working with a small group of students, they command the attention and respect of staff and students alike. Teachers and students rely on their expertise and professionalism, knowing that they are committed to helping every student succeed. Their work ethic is unparalleled. We can always count on their dedication in every way. They are always eager to participate in professional development opportunities to further their knowledge and skills. Mattapique Elementary School would not be the same without their enthusiasm, positivity, and dedication to our students, staff, and families. So thank you, ladies. And our last two awards are the Shining Star Awards. The Shining Star Award is presented to an individual in our school system who shines. And the first group is Kent Island High School administrative team. If they would please come forward with their roller skates on today. And their shining star is Cindy Taylor. The team says that Cindy is the heart and soul of Kent Island High School cafeteria, ensuring that nearly 1,200 students receive not just meals, but warmth and kindness every day. As our dedicated cafeteria manager, Cindy leads with efficiency, professionalism, and commitment in providing high-quality food and service to our students and staff. She creates a welcoming environment where every student is served with a smile, and her dedication to making mealtimes a positive experience does not go unnoticed. Congratulations and thank you. And our last award for this evening is the Shining Star Award, and this is from the Kent Island Elementary School team. And their shining star is Andrea Fila. Fila. Sorry. Fila. Andrea Fila, I apologize. Mrs. Fila is the PACS teacher for the first and second grade special education students at Kent Island Elementary School. She has created a caring, safe learning environment conducive to the unique needs of her students in her class. These students and their parents know that she truly cares about them every day. She has invited parents to visit her class to help make transitions smooth for new students, which brought so much comfort to the families. Seeing her calm demeanor and interactions with their child and other students in the class provided them with the comfort of knowing their child would be okay at school. She also works well with the general education teachers to make sure that students are successful with grade level expectations and curriculum when they are pushed into classes. She differentiates learning for the students who remain in her class for academics by providing accommodations needed for their success. She also has a great rapport with the school assistants and can guide them to successfully help the students during transitions to class, bathroom, and to the nurse. She provides each assistant with their own binder of expectations, schedules, IEP snapshots, and medical information for students. She's very knowledgeable on special education and is often researching how to help her students to become even more successful. We are lucky to have her as part of our school community. Congratulations.
Take it out.
Let's go.
And they're gone.
We have the list. Thank you. I was looking around, I was like, everybody here? All right, that was fun. Moving on, let's start with board involvement. Who would like to go first?
I
Well.
vote Carrie, because it used to make me go first when I was over there. so-
Oh, okay,
Wow.
Karen.
All right. We've got a while. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, so what, February and March, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I did make it to the swim meet with Queen Anne's County and Kent Island High School. I also made it to an ice hockey game. The middle school, I guess, has a combined team in the county, and they're really good. Anyway, it was fun to watch them play. Also went to a bunch of basketball games, track meets, lacrosse games. I did go to Queen Anne's County High School and had a great tour there, mainly in the CTE Center. Really impressive. Thank you, Dr. Kibler and everybody at Queen Anne's. Also went to Sudlersville Elementary and saw the community school and the
School-based health center.
thank you, school-based health center and all the great stuff going on there. We went to the Graysonville Wax Museum. Always fun to see the students and push the buttons and watch them act like historical figures. I went to the networking hour at Ken Island High School. They tried to put me to work, but I kind of avoided it. But anyway, it was really neat to see the students getting interviewed. And anyway, I was very impressed with the career readiness program. And also the, I think it was Willow Roots Photography that came in and did they did headshots of all the students. And anyway, they were really amazing. So I was actually watching them do that. But that was really great of them to do that. I went to some May legislative meetings and the commissioner's budget meeting. And thank you to the commissioners for the extra money. So anyway,
nice.
appreciate all the support from the county commissioners. Oh, goodness, and one more thing. I also was asked by Ken Island Scout Troop 278 to help them with their Citizens in the Community Merit Badge. So hopefully they're watching, and they made them watch last month and again this month. So anyway, hopefully they earned their badge. Thank you, Ken Island Scout Troop 278.
Very nice.
I had a whirlwind of the last 2 months. I did get to go to the Shrek play at the high school. It was amazing. Also, between last Wednesday and this Wednesday, I was able to get a tour at all 14 of our schools. And it was amazing to meet the staff and to see all the different programs. And, you know, I've been in some of the schools and some of them I had never even stepped in. So it was amazing to kind of put faces to names. It's kind of a lot of information to go on the last couple months. And then I went to the commissioner's budget meeting with Carrie last week, and that was amazing. And again, very appreciative for the commissioners and all that they're doing to try and help us right now. And yeah, it's been a good 2 months.
I was able to attend the high school plays, middle school plays, and then one coming up this Friday at Sellersville with Willy Wonka. I was able to attend the Citizens Advisory Committee and SSIC and the Teachers Gala. So congratulations to all the nominees and the finalists, and everybody was there. So,
I completely forgot about that.
and if there's anything else, I can't remember. So.
It's been a busy couple months. Like most of us, I attended both plays, Shrek and Peter Pan. I must say, our students are getting better and better every year. Those plays are amazing, and I love attending them. Congratulations again to Marcy Mamas as Queen Anne's County Teacher of the Year. That was a nice event on Monday, and I was glad we were all able to make it together.
As I mentioned, we all went to the Teachers Gala, so congratulations everybody there. I got to sit in on Miss Fulton's class with Dr. Kibler. We sat in there for an hour. Good time, watched some of the learning. I want to say a special thank you to her and her class. I got a note from every single one of the students saying thank you for sitting in. Brightened up my day. It was fantastic. The pictures were great. Sorry, man, they just like me better.
And I have a question. What chair did you pick if you got to pick a chair?
The shortest one.
Are you?
So that was awesome. I brightened up my day. Whenever I got all those letters, I opened them up with my daughter. She had fun opening them up and seeing the pictures. So, Ms. Fulton, thank you very much for inviting me in your classroom. I did go to the commissioner meeting with the executive staff and Dr. Salines. I don't know if that was last month, this month. That's
It was
been a while.
February.
Okay. And then I also sat down with Mr. Pinder, Mr. Watkins, and Dr. Kibler to go over budget stuff. We sat in here for about an hour and a half and started going line by line, and again, for multiple times we've done it. So I think that's about it right now. So, oh, one last thing. Congratulations to the Queen Anne's County High School women's wrestling team for back-to-back state championships. That is fantastic. I got several videos sent to me, so I was trying to watch matches vicariously through my phone. since I was not able to actually make it over to the meets, but congratulations. I hope we have them in here to recognize them sometime too.
All right,
Hello. Hey,
you're up.
all alone today.
All alone, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So, to recap March a little bit, we had a very exciting March, and since we couldn't meet last month, we had our very first NHS talent show. So much work was put in by the NHS officers. It was a really great time. Versus Easton, the Easton NHS also helped out with that. It was hosted at our school. That was awesome. And then we also had our annual prom expo on the 20th of March. That's always fun. And then, of course, as Miss Bent mentioned, the gala 2 days ago, our very own Miss Mammis won Teacher of the Year, which is so exciting. And Miss Hegelke was also a finalist for Teacher of the Year. I've had both of them personally, and they're both great. I love them both. And then our school psychologist, Miss Beatrice, was also nominated, or she won the Outstanding Support Person of the Year. And then just yesterday, we had our NHS induction ceremony with 66 new inductees, which was a lot. We have now 130 some members. It's exciting. And then also yesterday was the SAT for all 11th graders. 250 students taking the SAT yesterday. And now that was just kind of what would have been said last month. And then tomorrow we have our first home unified bocce ball meet. And on behalf of the nonprofit Team Trace, we have 6 new AED machines, 5 towers, and 1 mount to help support for, yes, this is the flyer. Yes, to help support from preventing death by cardiac arrest. And that nonprofit is in honor of Trace, a boy who died at the age of 3 from congenital heart disease. So we thank them for all that. That's really helpful. And then we have our superintendent-sponsored NHS Senior Luncheon on April 23rd. That's coming up. That's exciting. I'm excited for that. And then Chesapeake College is coming to talk about dual enrollment for next year with their students. Lots of field trips have been going on. That's always fun. Biology went to Horn Point. Government will be going to Philly, which I went on that trip sophomore year. It was really fun. And then world languages will be going to Washington College. And then state testing begins April 30th. Of course, we have spring break in there. It's much needed. And then on May 1st, we have art scene for all grades, all schools in the county, which is really great. Definitely encourage everyone to go to that. I've been the last few years and it's really awesome. There'll be food trucks, as Mr. Harding told me. And yeah, that's May 1st. And I encourage everyone to go. And that's everything. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Schrader. Does anybody have a report from Ms. Smith
From,
for Queen Anne?
oh, I do not know. She couldn't be here tonight.
All right, well then we'll keep moving on. Thank you very much, Superintendent.
Yes, so I did the plays. Literally amazing. So look forward to them and got to do a lot of the things with the board members in and around. But I do want to take an opportunity to just give a shout out to Economy Roofing. They are just such faithful partners to us. Sometimes our students come to school and they don't have money for lunch, and they end up getting a lunch account that accumulates money. And a lot of times their parents can't afford to pay for that. So we have great partners like them that come through and they give us money in order to wipe that slate clean for those students. So you can see here, we got $4,249.18.
That's awesome.
So thank you. If you see them or you know them, please thank them. For us, they are just wonderful partners, and I wanted to recognize them.
That's fabulous. All right. Now is the time for citizens' comments. We ask all speakers to keep in mind the following guidelines. Speakers should sign the roster, including their telephone numbers and addresses. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes in length. Comments longer than 3 minutes should be submitted in writing. Statements to the board should relate to a matter of general policy over which this board has authority. Comments about the actions or statements of individual staff members are not appropriate for public comments and should be referred to the superintendent of schools or the board president. If you have specific questions, the board will make sure an appropriate staff member responds to your question. The board respects your desire and right to convey your message freely, but ask as a courtesy to this board and our citizens that you show respect for all. First up, Mr. Richard McNeil.
Is this one on? Okay. Good evening, Richard McNeil. I have missed seeing the smiling faces up here since Christmas, so storms and everything else. I represent myself, but especially the retired school personnel, and I'd just like to make a couple of comments. One, same as what you had said, the plays this year were outstanding. They always seem to be outstanding, and it's just great to see the talent that comes out. And I'm looking forward to the end of April and May for the art, to see that. And as I was telling Dr. Bell, you know, the kindergarten, middle, and high, when you get to see the progression and how it goes, is just outstanding. And, you know, that comes from the skills that the teachers bring out in that, you know, and a lot of students don't feel they have an artistic talent, but it does come out. So just to say thanks to the drama departments. I know that in the middle of the budget and you're almost to the end, I hope that somebody has been monitoring on the state level House Bill 0350 and 0352. I don't know whether you're familiar with that or not, but if that passes and the governor signs that, that could add another $100,000 to $200,000 back to the counties towards contribution to the pension system. So I'm hoping that somebody has been aware of that and so forth, because that on top of everything else, that just adds another burden to the local community. Our organization wrote a letter in opposition to that, just on that aspect. And so I just wanted to bring that up. I know the legislative issues, I think, finishes up Friday. I think I think it is. It's sometime soon anyway. So I know that's in that. Our retirement group has been contributing back to the community. Just to mention, we gave over 160 pairs of gloves in January into December. This last time in March, we collected several boxes of things that go to Haven Ministries for the homeless and so forth, in terms of toiletries and so forth. And as I close out, I just want to note that there was a great tribute for Madeline Hollis about 2 weeks ago. A great teacher. She was a member of the board for 10 years and just an outstanding person for the community. Just recently, Charles Emery passed. He was a worker here in the county, and just the other day, Pam Edwards, one of the counselors who was battling ALS, she succumbed to that. So great people. I knew all of those folks and so forth. So I just wanted to say thanks to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Amanda D'Onofrio.
Hello, Amanda D'Onofrio, Centerville. I wanted to come today and say that I am part of the Citizen Advisory Committee for my children's school, and I think that that is really important, and I think that a lot of parents would like to be engaged more in that way. But when I initially joined the group, I thought there would be a better capacity for communication between the parents and the actual members of the board, not just to discuss topics that are on an agenda that are important, like the calendar or the budget, but to actually have a representative face of the board there while we're discussing these measures. And I hadn't seen that at first, but it is really refreshing to see it lately with the people who are coming. It is important, and it makes an impact to the parents who are going there to have that. I did not work in education, but when I worked in hospitality management, one of the things that made me successful at my job was not only could I manage the restaurant and do the accounting and the ordering and the stock takes and all of that, but if there was a shortage of personnel, or if we were very busy and in the weeds, I knew how to wash dishes. I knew how to serve tables. I knew how to be a hostess. I knew how to do all the jobs in that restaurant. And I was not afraid to roll up my sleeves and do the work alongside with my employees. And that is really impactful, not for management, but for leadership. So as we go forward and we look for a new superintendent, I want it to be clear that I think a lot of the community wants somebody who can inspire that level of trust and who has that work ethic, who is seen not only at certain events, but during a day-to-day, that they really know what the teachers are experiencing in boots on the ground with classrooms overloaded with children and a lack of tutors and support to back them up. Because we've all played Jenga, right? We've all played that. It's a very simple game to play. Our kids at the elementary school level do not have enough support. They do not have enough tutors. Their teachers have large classroom sizes. So as we remove all this support, if you play Jenga, if you pull all the support from the bottom, what happens to the rest? It all falls. We cannot make the room for our children to grow and our teachers to help them do that and succeed at the level that they could unless we back them with the support that they need. Unless we see that while a classroom has the capacity to hold more than 27 children or more than 20 children, that isn't the ideal learning environment for a child to learn in, and it is not the ideal environment for a teacher to teach in. They need our support, and going forward, I want it to be very clear that a lot of parents are of the mind that they don't have enough support and that they need it, and the teachers have been making the sacrifices with the furlough days, and I know there isn't room in the budget, and I know that some of that is going to come from retirement, but I need to know that it isn't only the teachers making those sacrifices, because that board building is very big and I'm sure it employs a lot of people. So we need to ask ourselves where else the cuts can come from.
Thank you for your time. Miss Cecilia Mitchell.
Good evening. Looking for the red light. Good evening, I'm Cecilia Mitchell. I'm the president of QACEA. You guys referenced the work session with commissioners the other night. And there was some discussion there. And I know I've reached out to you guys so we could sit down with the new board members and kind of talk about how we work. So I just want to take a second to talk about that. So we are the Queen Anne's County Education Association. So that is our membership focus, is here at the county level. We're an affiliate of the Maryland State Education Association, which then would represent educators' voice or use that advocacy platform at the state level. And then above that would be the National Education Association. So when we join, a portion of our dues goes to the local, a portion goes to the state, and a portion goes to the national. Separate from our dues, members can opt in and make political action contributions. And that money is used for things like advocacy. So recently, MSEA organized the Night of Action in Annapolis, and local affiliates traveled to Annapolis to meet with their legislators. So one of my support people at MSEA made appointments for our delegation, which ended up being a little bit smaller than we had hoped. We had worked with Dr. Salins to get people signed up for that, but the timing didn't work out exactly the way we'd had, but people still drove over. So it was a small group of us. We go to our first appointment and the door is closed and there's a sign that says, come to our district legislative reception. So we're like, okay, they're all down there. So we went down and we were able to address legislators and say, the state needs to give us more money. Our local governments are strapped. Two commissioners were there, Mr. Moran and Mr. Dumel, and I was like, you told us to come to the state and here we are. And, you know, they're very supportive, as we know. But a shortfall is a shortfall. And we can point a lot of fingers and try to explain the shortfall away, but the shortfall is the shortfall. And a reduction in staff in any way will be catastrophic to this school system. I'm sure Dr. Salins has explained to you. I feel like and as the speakers who just spoke, like we are strapped for human resources. We're the largest employer in the county, so yeah, we're going to take the largest part of that. It is a human-dependent nonprofit, public service. We're not in for it for profit. The school board doesn't come out with a surplus and say, oh, we taught all these kids and we've got $5 million to take to the next year. It doesn't work that way. So a shortfall is a shortfall. It is a challenge. I'm going to see the governor on Friday. I know their budget is set, but we still ask. So thank you for what you do on behalf of us, but a shortfall is a shortfall, and a loss of people will be catastrophic. So whatever we can do together to avoid that, it would be great. So,
Thank you. So I can't make out the last name, but I believe the first name is Fred.
Yes, unfortunately tonight you have two McNeils here.
Ah,
Good-looking McNeil, the bad and the ugly. My name's Fred McNeil. I spent 30 years as an educator here, and I sympathize with you. I spent 4 years on the Board of Ed, all right? So I know what you're going through. You're doing a great job, okay? What I'd like to do tonight is do something you don't get enough of, and that's thank you. Dr. Salins and his staff has rescued us. There's a group of 50 veterans. It's called the Centerville Veterans Information Center. We meet every Monday at the American Legion. And Dr. Salins and her staff has been a hero. We had 325 veterans at the high school gym Saturday with bands, et cetera, all that Dr. Salins and her staff arranged for us. And we really appreciate that. We really do. I also want to thank Carrie. Carrie, where'd you go? She leave? Oh, Carrie. I can call Carrie and she says, oh God, here's Fred again. She makes sure the printing's done, it's done on time, it's done correctly. I appreciate that. Jolene Gottlieb, I don't know how she does the job she does. She prints all of our flyers and makes sure they're done correctly. Helen Burton last week folded 300 flyers for us, all right? That's a lot of manpower and she did great. And Laura Walls at the high school, we had a walk through there last Friday before the event. She took us around, made sure the custodians were there and all the support, all right? So I thank you very much. You're doing a great job. And don't listen to any McNeil. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, moving forward. Next action item is an actual action item. It's the Human Resources Report. And since it was done in closed session, as it should be, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
Can I make a motion for the Queen Anne's County Board of Education to approve the April 2nd, 2025 Human Resources Report as presented?
Second that.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And if you don't mind me interrupting, because we had some really exciting promotions on there that I'd like to entertain the board on.
Okay.
If you will allow us to entertain the board on that. So I would like to first say, there was a transfer on there. And so Mrs. Michelle Carey, who is currently the principal at Kennard Elementary School, will be going over to Centerville Elementary School, and she's super excited. She knows a lot of the families, and she's getting back to her roots, and she's just really excited about it. So we thank her for that and her leadership. So that leaves us with who's going to Kennard Elementary School, and I'd like to present to the board Mrs. Sarah White, the new principal at Kennard Elementary School. Then I'll get the mic ready. Okay, with that moving on, as we all know, Mr. Lou Shepard is currently the acting principal at Sellersville Middle School, but for the upcoming school year will be the new principal at Queen Anne's County High School. Congratulations.
Can everybody look at me and say cheese on 3? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Great job. Good job.
Awesome. I know. It's great. We love it. Job security right there. Thank you. Okay. So the next announcement would be for Miss Billy Bryce, if she'll come forward, please. It's Dr. Billy Bryce, I should say, who will be our new principal at Sellersville Middle School for the upcoming school year.
Okay, real quick. On 3, 1, 2, 3.
And last but not least, we have one more announcement. I'd like to invite up Mrs. Stacy Deegan, who is our new principal at Bayside Elementary School. One more round of applause for all of our new principals. We're really, really excited, and I believe Billy's going back where she was a student. I believe Stacy's going back to where she was a student. Those are really exciting times, and it's like going home, I'm sure. So thank you for all of you, all 4 of you, for your leadership, and we know it's going to be a fantastic school year next year for you all. Thank you. That was very nice. Thank you very much.
First up on the docket, Mr. Evans.
Good evening, President Bent, Dr. Salins, members of the board, executive team. For the record, my name is Matt Evans, Supervisor of Student Services. Before you tonight is a contract with Navigate 360 for a behavior threat assessment case management bundle. This provides regular and ongoing training in behavior threat assessment to all of our assessment teams in all the schools, as well as training for all school staff. It provides a single secure platform to store all of our behavior threat assessment data. It provides consultative services, platform training, and overall professional development. And this will be funded through a competitive Department of Justice grant, Stop Violence grant that we received that will start July 1st. Happy to answer any questions.
Don't have any.
Wow.
No questions.
Well,
Of course, Carrie has one. So the award was, what, 166,000?
Correct,
So, what's the,
for 3 years.
oh, is that what it's for? Okay. Great. There's a lot to do to keep up the reporting. I mean, good
Okay.
job, whoever applied.
Yes, that's my first federal grant. It's cumbersome.
Yes, I saw that. Very, very impressive, good.
Can I get a motion for approval?
I motion for the Queen Anne's County Board of Education to approve the purchase of Navigate 360 Case Manager Bundle to provide all schools with a digital platform for asynchronous trainings, e-learning, and data storage of all behavior threat assessments and risk assessments. Fiscal impact is $53,625.00. Budget source is DOJ BJA Stop School Violence Grant.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. All right, Mr. Tolley.
Good evening, President Bent, Dr. Salins, board members, executive team. For the record, my name is Adam Tolley. I'm the Supervisor of Career and Technical Education, and I am before you this evening asking for approval for a new CTE program / pathway, which will be electrical. The documentation I provided just gave an overview of the program, but I'm more than happy to entertain questions about this new pathway for us.
Did we have a lot of interest in it? Is that why we are moving in this direction?
Yes, a lot of interest. We've been working on this for a while, and there's introducing a new program in the CTE world. There's a lot of different metrics that we have to look at, and we have already gotten approval from MSDE for this program, which is a rigorous, process. So we have gotten approval from them. We've worked with the Workforce Investment Board to look at labor market demand, and as you all know, the trades programs in our district have really blown up, and this will certainly fill a need there, help to ease some of the overflow in those trades programs. But electrical is a very in-demand pathway, so we are happy to be able to do this if approved.
So did they end up with a certificate at the end?
They will. They'll have a certification. This program will run just like our other trades programs in terms of courses. It's a 6-credit pathway. It also, electrical also lends to apprenticeship opportunities more so than some of our other programs, just because it has been established. Apprenticeship program in electrical has been established for a long time, so they will have that. They also have the opportunity to go to Chesapeake College. They're starting a new electrical program, so they'll do level 1 electric with us, and they can go to Chesapeake College and start automatically into electric 2 and have those hours that they are doing count toward their apprenticeship program if they decide to pursue that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'm all for this and every other CTE program that we can bring in. So we
Thank you.
appreciate your work in bringing these two, because I think as a whole society, we don't have enough CTE, so we appreciate your efforts here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your support.
Can I get a motion for approval?
I make a motion for the Queen Anne's County Board of Education to approve the new CTE electrical program for the 25-26 school year. Fiscal impact is $0 and budget source not applicable yet.
I second that.
All approve?
Aye.
Before you leave, I do have one question that's not related.
Sure.
The program that we have, where we have students that graduate from firefighting,
Yes.
has that been impacted by some of the laws that have changed? Because I know that they closed one of the Maryland firefighting campuses while there were students in the middle of it. Does that impact us in any way, shape,
We have
or
not
form?
been impacted, and, as you know, fortunately, we have this Upper Shore Training Center right in our backyard, so we haven't heard of any, upcoming, closures to that on the state level, so we are gonna, run that program, continue as we are, so.
The only other thing I asked is that can we make sure the board gets invited to the graduation? Because I missed it last year.
Absolutely. We have a meeting with them on Monday, or actually Tuesday, to go over plans for graduation, so yes.
Thank you.
Tentatively, it is the Thursday before Memorial Day.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you all very much.
Next, Dr. Rankin.
Good evening. evening, President Bent, members of the board, Dr. Salins, and executive team. I'm Stacy Rankin, Academic Dean at Kent Island High School, and I have Dan Harding, Principal, here with me. I thank you. I come here just to ask approval for a contract with IXL Learning for Kent Island High School. You have all of the information in front of you in both the binder and what I've submitted, but we are asking for approval for a 3-year contract with IXL Learning using our Title I school improvement funding. Before I get into a quick overview of IXL Learning, I want to give you a background on why we have the funding at Kent Island High School. So every 3 years, beginning in the year of 2023, schools are identified as a school in need of improvement. Kent Island High School was identified as a school in need of improvement in 22-23 based on our performance on the Maryland report card from 21-22. Specifically, we're identified because our students with disabilities were performing as low as the lowest 5% in the state of Maryland. And that's really how schools are identified as a school in need of improvement. We will know if we exit in 26-27 based on our performance next year. And if our students with disabilities improve, that's great. But if any student population, whether it be ethnicity, race, economically disadvantaged, perform at that rate, we will still be considered a school in need of improvement. Since we were identified, we get funding from the state through Title I funding, and that is specific to those schools that have been targeted. We can only use the funding for activities that are going to support improvement in our school and student achievement, and any activity that we're doing must align with ESSA's top 3 tiers of evidence. So that leads us to IXL. How do we get to where we are tonight? In January, we were notified that we needed to reallocate Title I school improvement funding. So we worked with our staff. We had staff members recommend IXL Learning. They had experience using in high schools in other states and or other schools across this state, and really recommended the outcomes from that. So I worked with our supervisor of English, math, and special education to meet with the consultants of IXL Learning. Based on the information they shared with us, all 3 supervisors were in full support of moving forward with IXL Learning. A quick overview, it does meet the ESSA level 2 tiers of evidence, so it can be used for with the funding. Once we got approval from from our supervisors, I took it back to our school improvement team, shared all of the information with our school improvement team, department chairs. They were on board with taking it to our entire staff. So they shared that information with each member of our school staff. And what you see up on the screen is an overview of the feedback that we received. Just because I can't read that little, I do have it written down. 63% of our departments supported using the school improvement funding for IXL Learning, and 37% highly supported it. We did not have anyone not support using the funding for that. Of special note, the departments that highly supported using the funding for IXL Learning were English, math, and special ed department. And those are the ones that will have really the most impact on kind of moving us forward with our Maryland report card scores. A quick overview of what we get with this contract. And I did not note, but they are offering a promotion now that if we partner with them for 3 years, they will give us a promotion that they will give resources to feeder middle schools, as well as the other high school could have access to reading and math for 1 year. There's no commitment for them to do anything past the 1 year, but if they're interested, they would work with them. But what you'll get with this program, or what our students and staff get, are diagnostic assessments that will really pinpoint a student's high school proficiency in English and math. From that diagnostic that will be taken 2 to 3 times per course, students get an individualized learning plan. That really aligns with our blueprint requirements, where we must provide our students that are not meeting college and career readiness requirements with targeted support and assistance. And this really supports that. There is more information in your folder of other ways it aligns with the blueprint. So it creates a personalized learning plan for the student based on their diagnostic assessment to kind of fill in those gaps and improve their proficiency. Instructional and testing support is also provided with the 3-year contract. Students and teachers will have access to instructional resources in English, math, science, social studies, and Spanish. The reason we're getting at a discounted rate is they're still working on building the science and social studies components. However, they will have access for Algebra 1 through Calculus and Math, all of English 1 through 4, Chemistry, and Biology, and they're in the process of building out Physics. They'll also have instructional support for Social Studies, U.S. Government, and U.S. History. Another interesting fact is that it completely aligns with our state standards as well as some of the textbook resources, so teachers can use it as a resource. The feedback that you might have seen in the slideshow, our English teachers specifically were so excited that it perfectly aligns to the My Perspectives. They can go in, the short stories they're reading. It will create almost lesson plans and instructional tools for the students. And it also offers the Wyzant tutoring resource. I wasn't familiar with that, but one of our supervisors said that it's a great resource for tutoring and at-home support and offers a range of pieces. The last piece that IXL offered that other resources did not is that testing support. Similar to the learning plans, it creates a testing prep plan for state and national exams. All of the exams that you see up here are either college and career readiness exams that work towards a student being able to be identified as college and career ready, or state assessment requirements, and they all factor into our performance on the Maryland report card, which again, that's what drives whether or not we're identified as a school in need of improvement. So if we are able to get approval to partner with IXL for the next 3 years, what we expect to happen after using the diagnostic specifically with our 9th and 10th graders at a minimum in English and math, as well as our 11th and 12th graders that have not yet performed college or met college and career readiness expectations, using the instructional learning plans as well as the testing prep, we expect to see an increase in attainment of college and career readiness, an improved ability to identify students that are not meeting content level standards in their English, math, science, or social studies class, increased proficiency on all state assessments, and that will directly result in an improved Maryland report card performance. They've started studying, doing more research specific to its impact in Maryland, and what they found is based in the 23-24 school year, there was a correlation between schools that were using IXL Learning math in grades 3 through 8 and an improved proficiency on math MCAP, and that is an area that we're struggling in across the state. So we look to see that happening at the high school level as well. Any questions?
I don't have any.
So, of course, questions. So you can also pass it on to Stevensville and Mattapique Middle? Is that what you were saying, the feeder schools?
Correct. So what they would have access to is the test prep, and they would have that from the time we signed the contract through the end of the summer, is what was explained to me.
Okay. So if they wanted to test it out and see if they liked it.
Correct. The Queen Anne's County High School would have access to the reading and math program. They wouldn't have science and social studies or Spanish, but all of the test prep resources. So that would give them an opportunity to offer the required targeted assistance for students not being college and career ready as well.
For the same time period as when you sign it till the end of summer, or for the
No,
whole 3
they
years?
would get the 25-26 school year. And again, I said, are they locked in? Is there any sort of commitment if they say, yep, this isn't working for me? And they said, absolutely not. But if they are ready to move forward, and I believe Ms. Passon has already been in contact with other grant funding to see about getting them on board. So in the event she is able to use that grant funding, then we could look at taking the reading and math and moving that to a middle school instead of the high school.
to me. I like that you got staff feedback, so thanks for doing that.
Can I get a motion for approval?
I motion for the Queen Anne's County Board of Education to approve the 3-year contract with IXL Learning for Ken Island High School. The fiscal impact is $54,695.00. Budget source is FY24 and FY25 Title I School Improvement Funds.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Barrick-Lowe.
Good evening, President Bent, Vice President Capes, board members, executive team, Dr. Salins. For the record, my name is Darrell Barricklow. I'm the Supervisor of Facilities and Design. I come before you this evening asking for approval of the construction contract for the replacement of the sloped roof at Mattapique Elementary School. Earlier last year, we contacted Garland Design Build Services to investigate the roof replacement at the school. The existing school has an existing asphalt shingle roof that was installed when the building was originally constructed in 2004. The asphalt shingles are failing, and we've got several leaks through the sloped areas of the building. So we've contacted Garland. They came out and did a survey, developed a scope of work, and produced construction documents, and met with several contractors for a pre-bid meeting, and subsequently bidded the project. Bids were received on March 4th with 4 bidders submitting bids. Apex Construction submitted the lowest responsible bid at $3.474906. For the record, Apex is the same contractor that previously did Queen Anne's High School last summer and Ken Island High School the summer before. So the scope of work for this project is the removal of the asphalt shingles, the insulation below that. There'll be an investigation and some replacement of some deteriorated roof deck that we know is deteriorated. They'll be installing new insulation and a new sloped standing seam metal roof that would be similar to what was installed at Ken Island High School. Funding for the project is FY26 state and local funding at a 50-50% share. Questions?
What is the contract in here for Racine County, Wisconsin?
That is the Omnia contract. It's a United States, it's the cooperative purchasing contract. That's what we're riding so that we can utilize Garland Design Build Services.
Okay, so even though that the term on this was up October 14th, 2024, they're still allowed to?
There was an extension in the package as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
It's kind of confusing. I was wondering why there was like contract from Wisconsin in there.
Cooperative purchasing agreements are somewhat confusing sometimes.
Yeah, in the compliance questionnaire that they attached to it says 2 bids were received, 1 was deemed non-responsive, so I think that might be incorrect. I think
That's for the overall Omnia contract, not our contract. We're,
sorry, you
it's very
gave a lot of extra information then.
yeah,
Okay.
well, it is extra information, and the reason for that is in the past, the board has asked for a copy of the cooperative purchasing agreement contract. So we're now incorporating that in with the board items so that that's additional support for what we're asking for.
And this one is a 50-50 split, state
It is
and local?
50-50
Okay.
split, yes.
Anybody else have anything?
Any other questions? Can I have a motion?
For the summer, right?
It is,
It will be this summer's project, yes.
okay.
I make a motion for the Queen Anne's County Board of Education to approve the contract to Garland DVS for the replacement of the slope to roof sections at Mattapique Elementary. The fiscal impact is $3,474,906.00. The budget source is FY 2026 state and local CIP funds with a 50-50 split.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye. You have one more?
I do.
Yes, you do. Keep going.
Okay, next I have for the central office, we have approval of an allocation going to, or a check going to the town of Centerville for water and sewer allocations. This is basically the town's fee for the central office to connect to public water and public sewer. So with that information, we've included as backup material, we've included the letter from the town manager, Carolyn Brinkley, explaining how the fee was derived and the explanation for that. And then also I've included the town council resolution as well as the calculations table that's referenced in the resolution from for the flow calculation table. So the information is all here. The amount due is $165,288. That is actually 75% of the fee. 25% of the fee was previously paid for by the county when they actually acquired all of the property and annexed that in. So the county has already paid 25% of the allocations for that area. So with that, we're seeking approval for $165,288.
Do they know the difference, what this building uses as opposed to what the new building is gonna use?
That was a very lengthy conversation. Yes, because my first round with this was all of the people from this building are leaving this building and going to another building. We're not increasing any flow, effluent flow going to their plant. Why would there be any fee? Because we don't know what this building, what's going to occur with this building. And the answer was the allocations stay where the allocations reside. So the allocations that are present at this building stay here and they reside here. So whatever happens with this building, whether it's the county or whether the county allows us to reuse the building for later use with what we're looking at within the with further years down the road from a capital standpoint, those allocations would stay here. So once that happens, when this facility is redesigned, those allocations would be existing and whatever the new flows were would be charged against that allocation. So even though we are moving to a new building that's 30% smaller and has a lot less water fixtures in it, it is going there versus here. So that's why the charge is different.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Can I make a motion for the Queen Anne's County Board of Education to approve the expenditure to the town of Centerville, allocations required for the new central office building? Fiscal impact is $165,288.00, and the budget source is FY 2025 local CIP funds.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Kibler, you're up
Okay,
for a minute.
just 1 minute?
Yeah,
Okay,
you
real
got
quick.
a
So
big
this
couple
is,
things up there.
so we're bringing, good evening, board members, Dr. Salins, President Bent, Dr. Kibler, Assistant Superintendent. So what I'm bringing before you tonight is requesting a vote on the official last day of school for the year. We are, if we can all knock on some wood, hopefully past all of our weather events for the year. So this is, again, asking for your approval to vote on the official last day of school. Not only are we shifting the 3 days, but we would also shift the half days that were in the original proposed calendar as well. What I've put together for you here tonight is a mirrored copy of what we did as a press release last year when we did the board vote on this, as well as what was requested by our school principals, kind of the easiest way to get the messaging out on what the calendar looks like for the last 3 months, just because we start getting more versions sent around. So if you send one just snapshot of the last 3 months of school, people felt like this was the best way to prevent confusion. And I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.
None?
Don't have any.
Not much we can do about it.
All right, can we get a motion for approval?
Can I motion the board to approve the last day of the 2024-2025 school year as presented?
I second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Bender?
Good evening, President Bent, Dr. Salins, board members, executive team. For the record, my name's Sid Pinder, Chief Operating Officer. I'm here before you tonight with several bus requests. As you know, that when a bus hits 15 years of age, per COMAR regulations, you are not allowed to transport students on that bus within the state of Maryland. The first bus seeking to replace is approval for Mr. Eric Hanzo, the Bay Area Transportation LLC, to purchase a used bus for the 2025-26 school year to replace bus 0511 as a paid spare bus. Within the contract fleet, there's 8 paid spares. And what those are for, they are if another bus breaks down, you have to have a replacement for that to fill in for those couple of days. The price tag for this bus would be $8,000. That is already incorporated into the budget. It is not an additional amount because it is replacing the spare bus 0511. It is going out. There is no PVA associated with the spare bus at all. And the funding source would be the FY 26 Fund 1 operational. And again, the physical impact would be $8,000, which is already incorporated into the budget. Any questions?
Dumb question. How is a bus only $8,000?
Yeah. So, well, that's not a tough question. No.
I'm sure I'm missing something.
Like I said, per the contract, we allowed them to have 8 paid spares between the 4 LLCs. So they know when it gets to that time that it is a paid spare. It's usually an older bus that's in its 12th, 13th year that is already paid off. So therefore, it's the $8,000. And also, it's about $300 to switch out the radio on air. And then, of course, with the cameras and all, we just take them off the bus that is currently there and put them on there, which falls into our contract. There's no charge for that. Any other questions? That was a good question.
Get more of those $8,000 buses. Yeah, the new ones.
I think we can get a new one for 8.
No,
That would
probably
be
not.
nice, though.
I do have a question. It's kind of regarding, since there's a lot of buses on here for
Sure.
action items. Are we, with the bus cameras on there, do we have a number? Are we making any money off that, or how's
So-
that working?
Basically, through bus patrol, there's, it's kind of unbelievable how many individuals run the bus lights, the camera.
I do it at my house every morning, I know. I'm probably on camera somewhere.
Since the program has initiated, it's been about $600,000
Oh, my.
that goes towards, back towards paying for the fees. Remember, we entered into this agreement with Bus Patrol. We were facing a replacement of our cameras within our buses at $300-some thousand. With the contract, no money is coming out of our, county for that. It's going through paying for the technology fees, the zone R fees and all that through the Bus Patrol. Even if we do not meet that maximum criteria to pay that off within the contract, it's stipulated that Bus Patrol is responsible for that.
Okay.
So it's actually been a pretty good partnership, but if to see the statistics that we get each month and the locations and the time of day and where it happens is very alarming.
So we're technically not taking in any money. All the money is going into fees and to pay for the bus control. Okay.
That's correct.
And how long is the contract with them for?
Contract will be up this June, and we can renew that again
Okay.
with not having any money come out of our pockets for that.
Okay.
If it does get to the point, there's a split, that would go back into some safety features, but we'll never get to that point.
Okay.
We're obviously not like a PG County or a Montgomery County.
We'll never actually become like profitable on it, I guess you want to say.
We don't want to be profitable.
Not
on
profitable,
it.
but I'm saying like it could
I
help
want
pay for
people to
buses.
stop passing buses.
Well,
It's not gonna happen.
I know.
Does the sheriff's office get it? Does anybody, like, where does it go?
So, yes, good question. So, the information that comes out each month is shared with, the sheriff's department. It's also shared with our transportation department. We also share that with the, 4 heads of the LLCs, just so they're aware of, particular areas that are vulnerable or high, intensity areas. We also, do some training with the bus drivers on that. But it's, like I said, there's a couple of interesting areas that some of them I would suspect, others I'm like, wow, that's kind of.
Do you think the drivers know? I mean, what do the bus drivers think? It's just, that's a lot. I mean,
well,
just
so-
out of curiosity, I wonder if it's like
No,
an
that's-
education.
No, so yes, and it's part of our training that we go through each year. But I can tell you, before we had this program, it would be a bus driver calling in, hey, such and such car ran my red lights. Now granted, they're watching the kids get off the bus and making sure, and some of the videos I've watched are very scary. And so they're not focused on that tag number, they're not focused on that car. If they do happen to get that, then they would have to go testify in court, which would take them off of a bus route. So this kind of helps, eliminate it. I want to say there's about 12 counties in the state that utilize bus patrol. We did have other, contract companies that were looking at this, but they do not want to put cameras on every bus. And I had a hard time with that because, every bus should have it. You shouldn't just pick and choose which buses have the cameras on them. But within that package also comes the cameras inside of the bus that we use quite frequently, for bus drivers.
So to go back to my question real quick,
sorry.
yeah. I'm not saying we want to be profitable, but we're using this. Is there like a point where that there is a revenue stream coming in that in the future could help pay for future buses, or how does this contract work with bus
So
patrol?
within the contract, yes, there would be once you get to a certain point that the fees are paid off, then you would split that with bus patrol. And what we would like to do is put that back into our bus system.
Right.
Or I can be honest with you, the sheriff's department puts quite a bit of time into this because they are the ones that are reviewing the tickets and reviewing the citations, reviewing the video. So that's another, something else we could think about doing, is helping to maybe compensate them for that because they do put quite a bit of time into this. But if we got to that point, yes, sir, we
Right,
could.
because if we have a lot of buses that we gotta keep paying for, as we can see on tonight's agenda. So I was just wondering if there was that break-even point where we can start feeding this money back into our transportation organization, and when that point looks like it, how far off, like, is there a projection? Do we have that idea?
Well, once we once we start negotiating a new contract, some of the fees on there, we can ask to be lowered. Maybe some of the programs on there that we're not utilizing, we can take off. So it's not as large of a fee and we can, cut that down so the revenue that's coming in, then yes, we could potentially split that. But that will be within the next 2 months of working on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't have anything. No. I have motion, sorry.
No, good.
For the Queen Anne's County Board of Education to approve Mr. Arcanzo of Bay Area Transportation LLC to purchase a used bus for the 2025-26 school year to replace bus number 0511 as a paid spare, fiscal impact PVA, budget source, FY26 operating budget, transportation.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you. Second bus purchase we have is for approval for Mr. Clarence Pritchett of the Bay Area Transportation LLC to purchase a new bus for the 25-26 school year to replace bus 3711. That will have met its 15 years allowed by Comar. The budget source is the Fund 1 operational FY26 PVA in the amount of $25,527.11. Just to give you a reference, the PVA is a per vehicle allotment, and that goes to help cover the cost of the bus, repairs, those types of things, because there's 3 different categories. The bus drivers get paid to their contractors. It's the PVA, the mileage, and the hourly rate. That will be a increase to our budget, which we've forecast in advance of $9,148.61, because the PVA back in 2011 was $16,378. So that money's already there. This will be an additional $9,000. What we're looking at coming in next year for price-wise for buses is about $157,000 for a regular 72-passenger bus. If you would like to get it without air conditioning, you're talking about $151, but with air conditioning, that's an additional $8,000. And with a lot of our students that have different, medical needs, we really encourage them to get the air conditioning on there.
I don't know what sitting on a hot bus feels like. It's not fun.
And you don't want to do a field trip on one either for a very long time.
So we have a question. I remember sitting down with you and we talked about your spreadsheet, which I saw, and we've spoke about trying to get 3 or 4 buses a year, or you're kind of in it.
So that was for the county-owned buses that I'll be doing in a few minutes.
Okay.
But for this, we also have another spreadsheet. I don't think I showed you that one, but it's a spreadsheet of which buses we know that are eligible at the 15 years. Or we go down and look a little further at which buses, as you'll see one that has about 400,000 miles on it, which is pretty significant on a bus. So we allocate those each year, based upon when they were purchased, because remember, these are contractor buses.
Right. So what I was asking is, we did a couple buses over the last couple meetings, and now we're doing 4, actually 5 more buses today. Is there I understand that sometimes your time frame hits, the mileage hits, and you can't help it, but we're at, I'm thinking almost 8 buses this year?
About that, yep.
Is,
8,
and
yes.
you have typically a 12 to 15 year span. Is there a way we can start splitting this out a little bit more, even these purchases? How many total buses do we have within our county and within all of our LLCs?
About 110.
110. So if you do, okay, so it's gonna be 8 to 10 buses a year that we're looking at. Okay. Interesting. That answered my question.
That's a good question.
Actually answered my own question.
Sounds like you're doing it right.
Yep, I was leading you that way.
I do the math. For some reason, I didn't think we were even close to 100 buses, so yeah, that answered my question.
I make a motion for the Queen Anne's County Board of Education to approve Mr. Clarence Pritchett of Bay Area Transportation LLC to purchase a new bus for the 2025-2026 school year to replace bus number 3711, fiscal impact PVA budget source FY26 and operating budget transportation.
I second that.
All approved. Aye.
Thank you. The next bus is approval for Ms. Evelyn Gardner of Bay Area Transportation LLC to purchase a new bus for the 2025-2026 school year to replace bus 2815. 2815 is nearing 400,000 miles and is experiencing significant mechanical problems. The budget source would be Fund 1 operational FY26 PVA. The PVA would be $25,527.11. And again, the PVA that was originally associated with 2015 was $17,340. So an increase to the budget of $7,347.73. Just to kind of give you an average, a bus of about 15 years has about 250 to 300,000 miles on it.
I assume this is a North County bus.
Yes, and she also transports a midday run also to Arise,
Yeah,
morning and afternoon.
makes sense.
Any other questions?
Where does the bus go? Like, once it's retired?
Once it's retired, like we put ours on public surplus, and sometimes farmers will grab them.
The watermelon buses?
And sometimes, depending on the make and the model of it, they might ship it overseas somewhere. you know? So when we sell ours, we recoup that, put that back into the budget. It may be, you know, several $1,000s, it may be, you know, $800.
Motion for the Queen Anne's County Board of Education to approve Mrs. Evelyn Gardner of Bay Area Transportation LLC to purchase a new bus for the 2025-26 school year to replace bus number 2815, fiscal impact PVA budget source FY26 operating budget transportation.
I second that.
All approved.
Aye.
Thank you. The next bus we have is approval for Miss Heather Hanzo of Northern County Exchange LLC to purchase a new bus for the 2025-2026 school year to replace bus 6311. Again, this is a bus that has met its 15-year life cycle. The budget source is Fund 1 operational FY26 PVA. Physical impact is $25,527. Again, that is an increase of $9,148.61. Any questions?
Any questions? I make a motion for the Queen Anne's County Board of Education to approve Mrs. Heather Hanzo of Northern County Exchange LLC to purchase a new bus for the 2025-2026 school year to replace bus number 6311, fiscal impact PVA budget source FY26 operating budget transportation.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you. And the last one for contractors is approval for Mr. Lawrence Schnall of L&S Bus Service to purchase a new bus for the 2025-2026 school year to replace bus 6812. This bus has another one that has high mileage on it and has experienced some mechanical issues. The budget source would be the FY26 operational budget PVA, and the physical impact would be $25,527.11. And again, this will be an increase of $9,148.61 to the budget. Any questions?
I motion for the Queen Anne's County Board of Education to approve Mr. Lawrence Chennaud of L&S Bus Service Incorporated to purchase a new bus for the 2025-2026 school year to replace bus number 6812, fiscal impact PVA budget source FY26 operating budget transportation.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And the last item I have before you, these are county-owned buses that we are seeking to purchase. Approval of a contract with American Bus Sales and Services to purchase a 2025 Thomas Safety Liner 70-passenger bus and a 2025 Thomas Safety Liner Special Needs bus. These buses will replace two of our buses that go out, I believe it is October of the upcoming year. They will have met their 15-year life cycle. The one bus will be used to transport special needs students, will have a wheelchair lift on it. The second bus will go into our fleet as our sports trip bus to replace that. Both of them have air conditioning. Like I said, we have standardized that on the county buses. We are seeking to utilize the Sourcewell contract number 10-2623-TBB. Sourcewell is an intergovernment contract that is utilized by educational systems and government nonprofits. It's already been through the bid process. The budget source identified is from our local CIP, funds project FY25, project 7355. The physical impact is $299,714. And if you would like to, the special needs bus is $151,836. And the sports trip bus is $147,878. And all of these meet our specs and our design that we put out. we actually go above and beyond, what we require on the buses. And again, this will be purchased out of the FY '25 capital budget provided to us by the county commissioners. Any questions?
How long are they still behind on how long it takes the buses to come in?
These, we were very fortunate, and they are
Oh, they're there.
ready.
Oh, okay.
And instead of leasing buses, we are going back to the route of the capital. As you can tell, we've had discussions that the lease adds, with interest, adds quite a bit on there over 10 years. So I'm happy to say that the county commissioners have put that back into our budget to go that route instead of leasing them.
Any questions?
I make a motion for the Queen Anne's County Board of Education to approve the contract with American Bus Sales and Services for the purchase of two 2025 Thomas Staff T Liner C2 buses. Fiscal impact $299,714.0. Budget source is local FY25 CIP funds.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Turn for buses.
On the schedule, we are listed for a break. Does anybody need one, or should we keep going?
Budget.
Sorry, no break yet.
We might need a break after this. No.
Budget presentation and approval. I'm so sorry, Mr. Rob. I was not trying to not have you be up there.
Good evening, everybody. For the record, Rob Watkins, Interim Supervisor of Finance, President Bent, Vice President Capes, Dr. Salins, Executive Team. Find the presentation here. Tonight, I present to you an adjusted version of the fiscal year 26 budget for your approval. So in our presentation, we have thank you. We have red slides and green slides. So we left the original budget presentation slides in the presentation so we could reference them if we needed to. And the green slides represent the new budget request. So here's where we stand today. So since I left, we went back and did a budget analysis, and we looked for really any places that we could improve our budget. And along the way, we also caught some other things that we need to include in our budget. So this slide reflects really where we are. So currently, there is legislation going through the Senate and the House that has an impact directly on Queen Anne's County Public Schools and schools around the state, systems around the state. I chose to leave it in this presentation and make it part of our budget book because I believe it to be fairly likely to happen. So the first thing I show you is that there's a state share decrease that's coming through the legislative session. And that impacts us this year at $433,040. Similarly, as I shared with you last time, the pension costs for the county employees are being pushed down to the commissioner's office. We shared with you that was $1.3 million. This legislation has cut that in half, a little more than half. And at our last commissioners meeting, they shared that they were willing to give us the additional funds that they had set aside for that pension cost. So that adds $644,000 to their contribution. So that brings their total contribution to $7,644,041, and our total revenue increased by $211,000 and change to a total of $8.6 million plus. That brings our total projected budget increase down to $10.7 million, basically. That still leaves us a shortfall, though. There's still a deficit that exists in our budget. We are going to go through the budget book and talk through some of the things that we were able to cut out of the budget as we work through the analysis. We were able to reduce the overall deficit by over $500,000 to support the needs of the district. However, that we still have a deficit of $2.1 million that we have to overcome. So here is our proposed increase as it spans out all the different categories. Down in the lower right-hand corner, you can see that it's a $2.1 million deficit as we spoke to, and kind of how it lays out, similar to the way it did before. we actually see a little bit increase in the amount of money that goes to salaries and wages and fixed charges as we cut some of the stuff, other things out of the budget. So 91% of the budget is in people. We talked last time about what encompasses the fixed charges, and that includes things like FICA taxes, retirement costs, tuition reimbursement, insurance. Those are the big ones. Our proposed budget is at currently $129.1 million, and that lays out similarly to the way it did before. Not really much change there. We're about 84, almost 85% in salaries, wages, and fixed charges. So that still brings us to the conversation of what do we remove out of the budget book to help support really trying to get to a balanced budget. So I'll draw your attention to the budget book so we can talk through that. We pull the budget book up. It's okay. We can just talk off the papers. Okay, perfect. So in the budget book, we're on page 4. And so we can look at the things that are included. So orange things are salaries. I want to point you to the things that we made adjustments to. So if you go down to closer to the bottom of your page, it says 18 next to it. It says eliminated community school salaries, 4 positions now in the budget. So that line used to be $280,000. When I approached you guys last time, that was a $280,000 request to add to our budget. We were able to capture those positions in our budget as part of the normal process, so we can remove that $280,000 ask out of our budget request. Next up, we have 2 lines below it in yellow, National Board Certification. In analyzing our salaries and looking through the number of educators that are in the pipelines for national board certification, we needed to add $150,000 to that line to support the stipends allocated to national board certification. And then we get to we talked about the budget realignment this time, capturing the furlough charge, as was the 1.336 million. And we get to the gray boxes. The gray boxes represent the reductions or elimination of items out of the fiscal year 26 budget to try to balance it. To go through those one by one, we reduced the recruitment line by $5,000. That line was $7,000 to begin with, $7,500, excuse me, to begin with. We left $2,500 in case we needed next year to go and find more teachers to fill our positions. We reduced hourly stipends that are typically given to teachers. These hourly stipends are provided for things like curriculum development, assessment development, professional learning. So we reduced that line down by $175,000. We eliminated stipends that are allocated to the drug education coordinator. Those services are currently picked up by a grant, by someone who's being charged to a grant. So we have these services covered. These are stipends in place to support drug education coordinator that is no longer needed. We reduced the substitute teacher line by $150,000. Last year, we increased it quite a bit in the absence of the building substitutes. So we reduced this line down to $150,000, and we believe that this reduction will not impact substitute teachers in the building or the stipends available to teachers to help us cover classes as needed. We eliminated the stipends tied to the Student Assistance Program. The Student Assistance Program, this is not something that we charged very much to this year, and in many schools, the Student Assistance Program became part of the SST teams, and a lot of the things that they're dealing with are dealt with through those meetings, and those meetings are typically during the school day. Okay. Next is a reduction in transportation. This year, we did not need pre-K routes in the Centerville Elementary region, and the Canal Lake bus is going to be cut next year as well. That's what that $127,000 is. Next reduction is lease payment adjustment of $46,000. Basically, we had too much money in our budget to allocate it for leases of buses. We're leasing 2 buses right now, and we left enough money in our budget, it's about $30,000 to cover the cost of the leases going into next year. Dues and subscriptions was nearly cut in half. This is $21,500, and those dues and subscriptions, the ones we kept are ones that are needed. The ones that are needed for BZAM, ones we needed for ESMAC, for travel reimbursement, for supervisors to go to meetings, that sort of stuff. All of the dues and subscriptions came out of Category 1 administration and Category 2 mid-level administration. fixed cost reduction to tuition reimbursements to the tune of $151,650. So, as we're trying to cut, this is obviously an important thing for a lot of our employees. However, when we're looking at what we can cut to keep more teachers in the classrooms, this was something we thought we could cut. We left about $50,000 in the budget for next year to support some of our employees. And that brings us to a total position reduction need of about $2.1 million. And with that, I open up the floor for questions.
I think we asked the majority or questions on
I think we
person. Yeah.
If you guys want to have any questions, for, I don't know, anybody watching that. I know some of these we discussed.
Right. Yeah. Some of the staffing and things like that we discussed in closed session due to the nature of what it was. So I think that was the majority of our questions was that scenario. I just want to say, personally, I want to say thank you to you three for sitting down with me multiple times for multiple hours going through the budget. We've sat here, I'm just going to let the community know, we sat for multiple hours going through the budget. We've tried to find things since Mr. Watkins has come on, finding another $716,000. He's been instrumental. So I want to say thank you to you as well. You came in with your feet, you're on the hit the ground running, literally. So I want to say thank you for that as well, because this hasn't been an easy task. I know I've had a lot of questions. I know the board has had a lot of questions. I know we've grilled the executive staff over and over. There's going to be hard decisions to make. I want the community to know that these aren't taken lightly. Once we weather, correct me if I'm wrong, once we weather the 3 years with the large increases and we kind of weather the blueprint a little bit more, some of these programs we've already discussed and some of these folks to bring back on and the ability to expand and grow after we get through some of this blueprint situation, I want folks to know that we have to do what we have to do to get where we want to go forward. So I know we're going to get beat up here over this budget. They got beat up last year. Correct me if I'm wrong, we're not doing furloughs this year. We're not doing any RIFs, nothing this year. So teachers and folks can understand that we made every effort not to go down the same path we did last year. So, we have $2.1 million in cuts we still have to make. We've made several cuts later, but I think in the next couple of years, we're going to see the other side, the light at the end of the tunnel, that we can start building back up to where we want to be. So I just want to put that out there, because I know there's a lot of questions from the community. I'm getting hammered questions. Look at the budget, look where we're at. I've gotten a lot of emails, a lot of text messages. We've get inundated with stuff on how you can save money, but sometimes we're in contractual negotiations or things that we just can't do it. So, I just want to put that out to the community, because I know there's a lot of questions, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot more, and we're going to get hammered on just this right here. But, we can sit here and blame the blueprint, blame the state all we want. We've even talked about the state taking more money from us in the next future. So, we're just doing what we have, and we want to say thank you to the commissioners, because they've gone above and beyond this year and continue to give us more than what they should. So thank you to them as well.
Yes, thank you for everything you've done thus far. I guess the biggest question being our yellow item where we're still in a deficit, so we know we have, whatever, we approve the budget tonight, we have 3 more, the commissioners have their meetings.
Right.
We're still left with a deficit. I guess, everybody's wondering, how are we gonna overcome that, right? You guys have chopped through this thing as much as you can and taken everything out. For everybody watching and everybody wondering the same thing, what are our next steps here after the commissioners finalize their budget, if we're still in this deficit?
That's right. So unfortunately, this does require position reductions in order to balance the budget. So now we go back to work and we try to figure out how to make that happen. to lessen the impact as much as we possibly can for the classrooms in our district.
And then we won't, I know we've heard this question, I guess just for everybody watching. The commissioners have their 3 meetings and then it's not till what, June when they finalize their budget? Okay. Is there a June, was it like June?
Usually it's the first week.
First week, okay.
And then we would ask you, we'd bring back a finalized budget for you to vote on another time.
Okay. So if that would be the point where if they gave us any more money, it would not be till then, where we'd see
We
it.
wouldn't know until
Correct.
they gave us their final.
Okay.
It also includes the legislative session that's in session currently, so we're gonna
Correct.
know by Friday what the impact is gonna be. I presented to you what I believe, what it currently is, that could of course change if it hasn't been voted on yet. And so, as we continue to work on this, the budget book is a living, breathing thing, and we will continue to do everything we can to save as many positions as we can.
And you said what is in legislation right now is going to impact the budget negatively or positively?
Negatively, yeah. It's
By
about-
how much, roughly?
About 433,000 is what is currently projected.
It hurts. Originally, we were projecting it could be 1.2 to 1.3 million. Then it kind of looked like it might go away, and then now it's back, and it's this 433,000 this year. But in full transparency, if you look at the bill in the out years, it's not good in what it's proposing in cuts in future years.
Because it's going to continue to grow.
Correct.
So over $4 million.
For $4 million over 4 years.
So the state constantly has their thumb on us and we're picking up their tab essentially, because if you look at all these numbers, we're, doing the best we can and they're not meeting their end. So here we are.
It is
Here we
true.
are.
We had an opportunity to watch the commissioners meeting. Jack Wilson did make a point to say if the state was giving us what they said they were going to give us back in 2018, without even an inflation escalator on it, that it would be over $2 million. So we wouldn't be where we are right now.
Right. I think I don't know the number, I can't remember the number he used, but I think he said if you went between what they were supposed to originally give us between 2020 and 2030, they're shorting us like $25 million or something, which that, affects us majorly.
The funding stream from the state definitely is not what was projected at the beginning of the blueprint.
Right.
Correct.
So how is that a world-class education? I mean, it seems like there's some great parts to it, but it's also, hurting the bottom line. And it's not just us, it's everybody. You see it in every county. So, but thank you again for
Sure.
everything you've done thus far.
It also goes to say with it, the association even mentioned that they went down and saw the legislators. So like that right there is trying to help. I know that doesn't help our budget now, but that's appreciated. I do think maybe we try to get more board members and all of us to go there, because that's not going to fix anything now. That's not going to fix anything in the absolute near future. But I think pulling together and showing more force and numbers, because it is kind of asinine, to be 100%, especially from the state level. Bringing the good idea fairy, telling you to do all this stuff, and then we're not going to fund it. So because at the end of the day, who hurts? The students and teachers. They're the ones that are hurting the most on this, because teachers reducing staff, students. That's why we're here. So
So we make it through this year. We make it through this budget session. We get a balanced budget in place. We do what we must to start next year, and then we start rebuilding as best we can. Hopefully, we find a funding stream that's able to support what we need. Some of these things we're cutting out of this budget are not great things to cut out of the budget going in long terms. We cut things out of the budget last year we really could use back, and certainly anything that we cut further out of this budget is not helping our cause. However, all we can do is develop a fiscal responsible budget, stick to it, and do our best to build our fund balance back up. Remember, we had to capture $1.33 million this year in recovered furlough funds that was not in this year's budget. So next year we start with a balanced budget with nothing else, hopefully, to build off of, and we go from there. Next year, we can project the cost of the contracts because they're already negotiated and enforced. So we know that. So we know what we need to go to the commissioners with. And then hopefully we can start to build the things that we need to build to help our kids do what they need to do and our teachers to educate our kids the way they need to. Our world-class education starts with the teachers,
Great.
for sure.
Agreed. One more thing too, a lot of questions folks brought up, too, was examples of how to mitigate or things that we don't say is a necessity, and I know we had a long conversation last meeting. One of them, just as an example, was the cost of Marathon Health, just because Marathon Health is a substantial cost. And a lot of folks in the community have come up to me and asked, why are we paying for that whenever they have healthcare? Unfortunately, that situation, we're trying to mitigate some of them costs by bringing on partners with it, but we are locked into a contract. So that's just one of the examples of being locked into a contract that we have, Dr. Kibler has looked extensively how to go about relieving ourselves from the contract, if you want to say, but we just can't. So we're trying to find ways to mitigate that, which would allow money to come back into our operating budget. So I'm speaking right now to the community, not so much us here, because I know I'm just trying to give out some answers. We are looking at those. We are having those conversations for a lot of these large sum items that we are in contract to mitigate some of them costs. So again, that's not helping us right now, but those are things that we are looking for to next year to help those costs too, because some of them are substantial. But we're not just sitting around not doing anything. We are having these conversations, and we are reaching out to folks to try to mitigate those.
And I'm glad you brought up Marathon. We will have two representatives here, the director of MABE and the Bolton director, who will be come.
Based on our last board meeting, I know Mr. Sutley from Bolton came to the commissioners meeting, that Mrs. Sutherland and Mrs. Eichler were present and heard his presentation. We spoke to him after, as well as Milton Nagel from MABE, and they have both agreed that they would come and present to the board if that was not enough of a presentation at either our May or June meeting. So I will reach out to them at the board's pleasure and see if you would like them to come in and present, or how you'd like to proceed with that. Just let me know.
What did the gentleman say from Bolton when you guys were at the commissioners meeting about something about 10%? Was that taking a number off the top, looking because we only have like the one area in Centerville? I heard him mention something about 10%. I didn't know if that was off the 1.6 million because they know we don't have, that was like a complaint from certain people that, you know, if they live in different parts like Centerville.
I don't remember exactly the aspect of it. I do know that they were able to cap the expense.
Okay, maybe that's what it was.
For this year and next, or the rest of this year and next year, as one of the ways to mitigate some of the costs for that program moving forward.
Okay.
So at this point, we are moving forward with this budget as presented. That's a question. It's sort of an approval from the board that our team will continue to move forward with this budget, knowing that it will change when we get, maybe it won't, may or may not change depending on what the final number is from the county commissioners. Are we all in agreement there?
So we'll have another final approval of the budget. Okay.
In June,
So
we'll
this
have
is
a final.
This is still semi-fluid,
Just a little.
like
Well, I
like
mean,
like a 1%.
Well, I think it is still fluid in all
Right.
fairness, because we don't have final numbers for our
Right.
health care insurance. We don't have final numbers for things like MABE insurance property or MABE insurance liability. Those things come later. So I do think it's fair to say that there are some things that could potentially change in this budget.
And just what Ms. Capes brought up as well, once we actually see a document that says the Marathon Health costs, we might bump that down too. But until, I mean, that's a conversation right now. It hasn't, Mr. Watkins and I spoke about that. It's like, I'm just not comfortable in reflecting that yet until we get something on paper.
so the question on the table is, do we approve going forward with what we got while we wait for our final numbers, knowing that this may or may not change depending on what those final numbers are? Are we all good with this, what's presented?
Yep.
For us?
I don't like it, but yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I
what
know
it
that
is.
it's, I mean, we went line by line by line by line by line by line. So, I mean, it's like, it's just not
there.
Let's make it easy. Any objections? Okay. All right. Move forward what we have.
Want a motion?
Yeah. We have to do it.
Make
That's
a
fine.
motion for the Queen Anne's County Board of Education to approve the budget for the 2025-2026 school year as presented.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. All right,
Just noted, none of us like this.
not a one.
Thank you.
Okay, so I almost forgot Mr. Rob and tried to make a quick break, and I got popped in the head about, we definitely need a break, so we're gonna take a 5-minute recess, and then we will be back. So we will start again at 8:05. Thank you, and welcome back to the Queen Anne's County Board of Education meeting. Let's continue to move on. Mrs. Smith.
Good evening, President Bent, Dr. Salins, board members, members of the executive team. For the record, my name is Jolene Smith, and I am the supervisor of special education, but this evening I'm coming to you as a parent and as a member of the community, and more importantly, a member of Read Strong work. So I'm really just here tonight to spread information and awareness about this kind of relatively new organization that we have here in the county. Sorry, I lost the printer. All right, so what is Read Strong Maryland? This is actually a statewide organization that has really been created to raise awareness and kind of champion literacy here in the state of Maryland. The kind of main emphasis of the organization as a whole is to really kind of raise awareness about the crisis that we as a state are experiencing as it relates to our literacy rates in the state. So we as Queen Anne's County have joined them to champion that same message and really kind of spread the word and create an ecosystem here within the district. So we've created a Queen Anne's County Steering Committee, and unfortunately, I was supposed to have a counterpart here with me to present this evening, Alice Tickler, and she has really spearheaded most of this. She has been the biggest champion for literacy and kind of just awareness in the county, and so she brought this to the forefront. So you can also see other participants that make up our committee, and we are really representative of kind of all the different corners of Queen Anne's County and the different community organizations that we all work together to create Queen Anne's County. So Maryland Reads was funded in 2021, again, with the purpose of ending the literacy crisis here in Maryland, with a focus on really kind of bringing research and the opportunity for grant writing, which will bring additional resources to different avenues and different places within the state. So their approach, which we are also adopting as our own approach, really kind of focuses on these proven pathways to close the literacy gap. So the first one is really emphasizing the focus on the science of reading. And really, we want to expand the knowledge beyond just the walls of the classroom so that it's also in the community itself. So that kind of not just teachers and students are hearing the messaging, but that parents and kind of all of the parties that are in the homes of our children are hearing the importance of reading and how it impacts their lives as a whole. Kind of that second piece is really creating those thriving and rich reading ecosystems, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that word ecosystem and why it's important in just a minute. But really kind of making sure that we are immersing our children in those rich learning environments. And then finally, our goal is to really identify and address barriers that really prevent children from reaching that level of proficiency. And it's kind of our thought that by creating this diverse network of individuals that will better be able to reach beyond, again, the walls of the classroom so that we're all working collaboratively and collectively towards a common goal. So this is the Maryland Reads vision and mission, which again, we've pretty much adopted to be our own here in Queen Anne's County. So we want to kind of mirror that same effort. And just to give you a little bit more perspective, so every 2 years, there's a random sampling of students conducted using the National Assessment of Educational Progress, or the NAEP testing. And that kind of looks at students as a whole on a national, state, and district level. And usually it's students in the 4th and the 8th grade that are assessed. We have to be careful using these assessments because it is just a moment in time and it's just a snapshot. So if it's a really bad day, that is going to impact the scores of the student. But if we look at the state of Maryland, which is represented on the screen compared to the national norm, you can see that Maryland was rising and then it took kind of a drastic turn and dropped significantly for a number of years. We're starting to see it rebound. This is the fourth grade data, so you can see that we are seeing that upward trend within the past years, but it's really still too early for us to speculate exactly what has caused that turn. But we do suspect that by kind of shining that spotlight on reading and the importance of reading, that has made a significant difference. So this is the 8th grade data, and again, you can see that while there is still a decline, that decline has slowed, and that's important to note. So if we take a slightly closer look, and I am not digging deep into the data because again, I'm presenting to you as a parent and a member of this organization, not so much from the supervisor role. But if you do look at the MCAP data, you can see that Queen Anne's County is kind of solidly right there in the middle of the pack. We're always kind of closer to the top, but it's not good enough for us to just be close to the top. We want to be at the top. So it's, again, kind of our way and our effort to really emphasize the importance of reading so that we are at the top and not just near the top. So the good news is that Maryland is no longer winning the race to the bottom, which we were doing before, and now we are kind of closing that gap, and we are able to kind of see a positive momentum, you know, moving towards proficiency for our children. And that's something that's really why I'm here today, because it's important for all of you and anybody out in virtual land to know that this is an organization and it is something that we are working towards here in the county. So if anybody is interested, we want to encourage participation. So before I go, I did want to just talk about that word ecosystem and why it's important. So if you think about an ecosystem, you think about where our children live and where they learn and where they play. It's not just where they learn or just where they play. It's about all those pieces coming together and kind of forming a net or a network that kind of catches all of our kids. And in addition to that, we think about everyone having a role in that net. So that's why it's important for us to look at it from that perspective, because it's not just one entity that's working towards this. We want everyone to partner together. So if we really kind of look at that old adage, it takes a village to raise a child, you know, this is kind of embodying that same mentality. All right. So these are just some of the current locations where Maryland Reads has extended their reach. And again, you can see that we are one of those chapters, so we're excited about that. This is not an ask. Again, this is not us asking for anything or asking for a partnership or investment. It is simply us kind of spreading the word and championing the message. So to build that ecosystem, again, we're going to identify those connections. Where can we go in the community to find resources? Where can we go in the community to find those partnerships? And that's kind of the stage that we're in now. So we've reached out to, you know, we have the Boys and Girls Club, we have the library, we have, you know, the school system on board. Where are we seeing those gaps, and kind of where can we fill those gaps with other entities that maybe are not being represented in this organization? And finally, that's to all of those pieces together creates a culture within our community that reading is important, and that we all are going to work together to kind of promote that. So again, diversity is key. So having diverse members of this organization is going to really help us spread our message as far as we can. So I would ask that if anyone has any interest in joining, that you can use this QR code. It'll take you to a form, and you can just fill out that form that says, if you'd like more information, we're happy to send it to you. Were there any questions?
I had one. That graph you showed with the assessment year where we shot up in like 11 to 13. Mm-hmm. Is there on a educator?
This one?
Yes. Is there anything that would have caused this, or is this where the state is like changing how the assessment, they're looking at it? So we're not really comparing apples and apples, we might be comparing apples and oranges.
So this graph is based on a national assessment, so it's not really necessarily the assessment itself that was changed. And that's why I say it's a little too early for us to say exactly what is causing that upward trajectory. There has been much more emphasis within the past, I would say, 2 years, on reading, and with a change in the state superintendent, that has brought a change as well. There has been a lot more talk about the science of reading and the importance of getting back to kind of the fundamentals of literacy, et cetera. And, could that be a piece of that? Absolutely. But usually it takes several years, anywhere from 4 to 7 years, for you to really kind of see what it is that's moving that needle. So there's not yet enough data for us to know, for sure. The good thing is it's moving in the right direction. Any other questions?
So I love the initiative. It reminds me, when we grew up, does anybody remember reading a book and going to Pizza Hut?
Yes.
I say we get Pizza Hut on board and because
Like, that's not the same as it was in the
yeah,
90s.
but that's what it reminds me of. So I do love the initiative.
They
Thank you
were
for
nice.
that.
Yes, absolutely. And I must say, that has come up many times. But we thought about, from a local perspective, how can we partner with some of the local restaurants? Could we provide them with books that they keep on the table instead of giving a child an iPad, giving them a book? Because there is research to support that your brain processes information differently when you read it on a tablet versus when you read it on a book, or in a book. So absolutely. So those are some of the things that we've been talking about, and ways to build that ecosystem.
You should go back to the summer reading programs where you get a slip, and if you read all the books and you brought it in, then you got a prize. You look forward to starting the year off.
They still do.
Pretty sure they have them, but
Yeah.
there's like 2 kids that.
So the short Delmarva Shorewords and the Bowie Baysox have a partnership with us. If kids read a certain number of books, they can turn in their slips like you're saying and get tickets. We just got a pair in my house, and very excited boys about that.
Is that widely not
I don't know how do we
disseminated?
announce that,
How do we announce that? How do we get more of this information out to the students?
So in case I just brought up, those flyers go home like crazy. They're in the school newsletters and things like that.
It's just a matter of reading them and looking at them.
Yeah, and the elementary schools often will give the flyers, and they put it in the take-home folders for the kids so parents would see it.
Since we've transitioned over to electronic distribution of many of our materials, I think kind of accessing those emails and kind of clicking on those links is important. I know as a parent, sometimes those fall by the wayside, but there are some very valuable clicks if you open them up as well. So that would be helpful. Any of those school messenger, but again, that's just one piece of this.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you.
I just want my pizza. Geez.
Mr. Bell. No hiding in the back.
Good evening, President Bent, Dr. Salins, board members, and the executive team. For the record, I'm Michael Bell, Supervisor of Visual and Performing Arts, School Library Media, Non-Publics, Title IV Part A, and MSD Fine Arts grants. Tonight, I'm donning my Library Media Supervisor hat to present a first read of proposed updates to Policy 623, Media Materials Selection, and to introduce a new accompanying regulation, 623.1. This update is being brought forward for 2 reasons. First, MSDE has requested that all school systems revise their media policies and reconsideration procedures by June 30th of 2025. This is to align with updates to COMAR regulations governing school library media programs. These revisions will ensure we meet current state standards and comply with the Freedom to Read Act, which is House Bill 785, signed into law by Governor Westmore in April of 2024. Second, the revision will not only bring our local policy into compliance with state law, but also removes any outdated or incorrect language from the board's 2011 policy. With that said, I do want to bring to the board's attention that the initial draft of the first read you have in front of you references Comar 13A 091013, which was in the original 2011 policy, but applies to non-public schools. And I've since updated the language on my end to reflect Comar 13A 050401, which governs library media programs for public schools. And the second read will reflect the number changes in both the policy and the regulation. So thank you for your time and support, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Are you familiar with what's going on in Montgomery County that is refuting basically the new guidance from the state with Mohammed versus Montgomery County, which could actually, that just got picked up by the Maryland State Supreme Court?
No, it's at the SCOTUS. It's with SCOTUS.
Oh, it's all the way up now?
Yep.
Okay. So this could all be changing, and it could not.
Which part?
The entire guidelines for the media selection that goes into the school districts.
In terms of the Freedom to Read Act?
I think it's engulfing everything. I'm not 100%, I'll have to look that up, but I want to say it's the guidelines and the media selection for the school libraries, and I do believe it does come up with the Freedom to Read Act, but it is picked up with Supreme Court, which could then completely, entirely change this entire situation here.
The good news is, the reason why within the policy, if you notice, the Freedom to Read Act, it's referenced in one specific area so that if things do change, we really only have to edit that one area. We have, this is pretty straightforward, our revisions to this policy, where it simply addresses the fact that we have a reconsideration process which applies a 30-day and a 90-day turnaround time and so forth. So if that does happen, we'll address it as well. But this came from our state coordinator that we needed to make these changes by June 30th of 2025. So we needed to get in front of it.
I was just going to say that Title IX is another example. We had Title IX policy ready to go with changes that were under a previous administration, put it back off the agenda as soon as Title IX reverted back. So we would follow the court cases the same way in this instance as well.
And also that case, which, I'd be happy to brief the board in closed about, is, I think, a narrower issue than the House bill that Mr. Bell is referencing. The House bill, which turned into Section 4-142 of the education article, is, I'll say, more neutral than the policy, the way the policy is being described in the case. It's not directly challenging that law, it's challenging a local decision. And actually the Fourth Circuit affirmed the district court's decision to deny the parents' motion for preliminary injunction. I do understand it's still on review, and we remains to be seen what happens with that case. But it doesn't directly challenge the constitutionality of the Maryland law in place. So I would say it's just a slightly different issue. That's what's being addressed in that case, as opposed to what we have here in 4-142.
Well, what's concerning about this one is once again, the state is now putting their finger on us and telling us you have to abide by our state standards, which will be developed by the Maryland State Library Board. And if not, now we're going to penalize you. So why are we here as a local board if the board itself for our school district and the commissioner on the other governing side for the local libraries, if they don't have any say in what is in their community?
Well, the law actually provides an avenue for people to have a say and challenge, and then a process for reviewing them. So, and that's what the law is saying to the local boards is, we want you to have this reconsideration process at your local level, and that generally materials in the school library media program, therefore, they cannot be excluded from a school solely because of origin, background, or views of the individual who created the material may not be excluded or removed from the school library media program because of partisan, ideological, or religious disapproval. Just, it's more neutral. It doesn't specifically say you have to have a certain type of book in your library in the first place. It's just saying requiring neutral grounds for removal, and then providing an avenue for challenging or requesting reconsideration of a decision to place or remove a book in the library.
So where are when it references the state standards that the Maryland State Library Board is going to set, where are they? Because I could not find them anywhere.
So the public school library program is in the exact Comar reg that Mr. Bell cited. It's 13A, 0.05, 0.04, 0.01. It's the only subsection within that general chapter. So that's what I think you're going to be updating it to.
Yes.
And so that's where the standards are.
So before this form, what did we use? Did we have anything like when people did?
No, we do have a form. This regulation and policy update, it simply formalizes our process a little bit more, where, let me give you, for example, the 2025 update clearly outlines a formal reconsideration process with specific deadlines, which we didn't have in our original policy, which is a 30-day review, a 90-day decision. The 2011 version did not establish a defined timeline or resolution, did not explicitly state that challenged materials would remain available until the decision had been rendered. And the 2025 update, it removes outdated language as well that suggested that materials should align with, quote, philosophies of the school community, which could be interpreted as content restriction. It did not explicitly mention making forms publicly accessible online. So our updates are very transparent for the community, for the public, and with a process for how they would submit a formal request for reconsideration using the official form available on the QACPS website, review by media selection committee within 30 calendar days, and providing that written decision within 90 work days of the committee's formation. So,
Prior to 2024, some school systems had review processes in place. Some didn't. Some posted them. Some had them, buried in a file somewhere. Just because it hasn't really been something that has been, of much public, scrutiny until recently. And so, with the increased visibility on parents or community members challenging library materials, this law provides uniformity and transparency in that process statewide across all local school systems. So that's really what it's about. It's about having a uniform process for submitting objections and resolving those objections in a timely manner.
I think we all know what this is about. It's about school boards banning books, and now the state is coming in at the state level and going to be like, okay, here's our standards, you have to follow them. It feels like it's taking the authority of the school board in different counties to be able to have, I think we should have language in here because as the board, we should have, be reviewing these things. And I feel like this policy kind of is basically, it's not our policy. It more or less reads to me like, okay, we're just going to follow what the state says to do and that's it. But it's not reading anywhere in here that supports what Queen Anne's County.
Well, we are creatures of the state. And, that's just, how it is. If the General Assembly decides to enact a law that applies to all school systems, I would recommend we follow it. And so I understand, local jurisdictions might want to do things different ways, and but we are within this state structure, and there we go.
So explain to me how if a parent has an issue with media that's in their child's library in the school and having access and seeing a book that they may or may not agree with, depending on whatever reason, for the reasons that are stated here, essentially the board has no say. We have to follow what the state standards say. So how does that look in the process? This formal process for reconsideration?
Like I said, if
Fill out the form.
if there was, yeah, if there
And it can go,
there's a
and actually the
challenge,
board
they
would
fill out
consider
the
it on appeal.
reconsideration form.
And other boards throughout the state have actually considered many book challenges on appeal.
So if we consider on an appeal, could it still go back to the state level and they say basically, like, no, that book should not be in your library?
Well, your decision would be subject to appeal to the Maryland State Board of Education, just like any other appeal. And so, if someone decided to follow this process, fill out this form that's in the link, the media selection committee convenes within this 30-day period, makes a decision, then they could appeal to the superintendent, then they could appeal to the board, and that board decision can be appealed to the state board, just like any other appeal. So that would be the process, yeah. And other boards have engaged in many of these.
Well, if you read through here, it almost seems like you're also taking away from the superintendent being able to enforce the policy, where it talks about, where they go back in with like librarians or anybody who are instilling the media that, they have protections against themselves. So would the superintendent still be able to enforce it if the board was looking at it, if it came back to them as an appeal?
I'm not clear on the question. Can you?
Meaning like, I just feel like we're getting on a slippery slope, either what way you look at it. I mean, because now you could have parents complaining about one book, or, now you could have religious books that are in the school and then something again. So I don't know. It just feels like we're once again on that slippery slope of this could be subject to legalities over and over and over again.
I guess conceivably, people could challenge all sorts of books for all sorts of reasons, and then you would just review it and make a decision. And so, I'm not sure what that answers your question.
No, it does. I'm just being mindful here. I mean,
I understand what you're saying. You're just saying basically at the end of the day, we can make a judgment here, but then it goes back to the state, and the state, whether it's an appeal or not. Basically, what we're reading here is the state is basically kind of saying what's going to happen. And it's kind of taken the locality from what I'm trying to understand, she's saying is taken away from the locality of the board's decision to actually regulate within their own counties.
And it says if we don't follow the standards, they're going to withhold money from us.
Instead of being Talbot and Anne Arundel and Queen Anne's County.
I don't think the standards are all that specific as you might be thinking them to be. The standards in 4142 of the education article are pretty neutral as to a point of view on any particular topic. It just says materials, services, and resources provided in a school library media program are provided for the interest, information, and instructional support of students and school personnel of the school the program serves. They may not be excluded from the school solely because of origin, background, or views of the individual who created the material. May not be excluded or removed because of partisan, ideological, or religious disapproval. And then you have this policy, and then you have the policy for objections and reconsideration of those materials. So it doesn't say you have to have books in the first place of a certain type or not. It's a criteria for evaluating the selection of the materials and objections to those.
So it hasn't really changed anything, is what you're saying? It's just kind of adding deadlines and dates and processes to it?
It's really a proactive measure to ensure that Queen Anne's County Public School has a clear standardized procedure in place.
If a parent wanted to say, I object to this book in the library, some systems are like, well, I don't even know how you would even go about resolving that. Because, and then some, had a piece of paper from a library manual buried in a stack that was collecting dust. Now we all have this process. Now we're all required to establish a uniform process to submit objections to materials in the school library media program by a parent or guardian. The materials under the review remain available during the review process. And then we have to have a reasonable timeline, which I guess you have here is
Correct. We have
30
30
days.
calendar days to evaluate the material based on district policy and legal standards, and then a written decision within 90 workdays of
and
the
then you all
committee's formation.
hear it on appeal. So this, instead of a patchwork of policies around the state, now, for process only, now you have a uniform process. What your decision might be could vary.
You might just want to have the media selection committee ready, right? Whoever's on that. And hopefully it doesn't make its way here then.
Any other questions?
I don't have any.
Thank you. I will
Thank
see you
you.
at the second read with the,
And at this
the
point, we've
additions
had no
with the
comments because this is like the first read.
It'll be, yeah, it's just now posted.
We
Okay.
have to change that yellow sheet too, because it has March 5th still listed as the first read.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
And then this has been brought up to me several times, on the website to find the policies that are up for read. Could we have it a little bit easier to find instead of having to dig through the website? Just maybe, something where as soon as they go on our Queen Anne's County website, maybe there's like something they could click that says policies up for read and where they can, like, public comment is for it. Instead of, it's kind of hard to explain to them how to go into each, like, click on the tab, then go down the,
Yeah, we can definitely look into that. Maybe potentially putting a banner up, you know, on the page or something like that, like we would do for other things to alert people.
Sure.
So,
All right,
yeah,
thank you.
it's not going to take away from all our fine arts news, is it?
There's a lot of that.
Thank you, board
Thank you
members.
to
We're
Ms.
never
Thank you very
getting rid of
much.
that. Thank you. Mr. Barklow.
Good evening again. For the record, Darrell Barraclough, Supervisor of Facilities and Design. This evening, I wanted to present to you an update on the FY 2026 Capital Improvement Program. You may recall on February 26, I came before the board for approval of the local-only side of the Capital Improvement Program. Since that time, we have presented or provided our CIP to the county for their consideration. Our original ask for the local participation for both local projects and state participation projects originally was just north of 13 million. The county has come back and indicated that they can accommodate $8.5 million of funding that would pick up for the state projects as well as the local projects. So what we've done is gone through and taken a look at all of the capital projects, and we've done some shuffling on the state side of things. And I can touch on a couple of the highlights for the projects. If you go to the CIP that was provided with the agenda item, Project Priority 5 was originally going to be the Kennard Elementary School partial roof replacement. That project at the 90% stage of approval from the state was not approved by the state. So there was a very good chance that the state was not going to approve that for FY 26 funding. When we got wind of that earlier this year, we then kind of shifted plans of that project to potentially seek healthy school facility funds to fund that project, since roofs are a favored candidate for that state funding program. We've since learned that the healthy school facility funds most likely will not be available in time for summer of 2025 projects. So it's looking very bleak for that project to get state funding. So with that being the case, we've looked and are going to defer that project to FY '27. That's not necessarily a bad thing, considering that you may notice our number one project for state funding under FY '26 is the Kennard Elementary School HVAC systemic renovation. So the plan for that project would be to get a mechanical engineer on board to begin designing that project very soon, bid that project, and then we would be able to have a contractor begin procurement of materials that are long lead times, which mechanical units are usually a significant lead time of 26 months, for example. So it would give them the opportunity to begin securing materials for that for installation the summer of 2026. So our thought behind moving the Kennard roof project to FY '27, basically it aligns those two projects to occur the same summer. So we're looking at doing those two projects at the same time. So we'd be doing mechanical units at the same time as the roof replacement. It's going to yield a better project because we're not replacing mechanical units on top of a new roof or vice versa. So doing them at the same time, it does make a little better sense. So that's one of the highlights to the state project. So by deferring that project, we're taking the $1.76 million that the local side was going to award or guarantee for that project. It allows us to push that down into the local funding projects and push that money a little bit further along. One of the other changes that I wanted to point out is our priority 9 local project, which is the Restore Tennis Courts at Kent Island High School. We originally had that project estimated at $145,000. Since we did the estimation of that project, we contacted American Tennis Courts. They handle all of our tennis court installations, repairs. They've come out and evaluated the project and found significant failures with the asphalt. And quite honestly, it's pretty bad out there. We've got some cracks that somewhere in the neighborhood of around 3 inches in some areas, and they go all the way through the asphalt, all 6 inches of the asphalt down to the subgrade. So the scope of that project was originally anticipated to be crack control, resealing, restriping, and just kind of bringing things up to speed. The project now pretty much consists of peeling up all the asphalt, taking down all of the fencing, and building new tennis courts from subgrade up. So the price has substantially gone up to around $380,000 is what we're estimating now. So those are really the two major things that changed. The rest of the projects, pretty much from the second page down, with the exception of two noted as items 19 and 20, all of the projects that are highlighted the light beige color, they're going to be deferred to FY '27. So they'll be moving to next year's fiscal year CIP. So with that, it's no action. It was just for information. Any questions on the CIP update?
Nope. Not hearing any. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Dr. Salins, virtual learning plan discussion.
Yes, so actually this was an item that the board asked us to put on the agenda.
Yes.
And so we would like to just say we provided you with some information. We have a memo that was created, and then there's also the state presentation that does include the exact requirements for that. And I can just maybe just review a couple of those that I wanted to bring out. So for this school year, no less than 4 hours of synchronous instruction after we've already used up our days that were in the calendar. Attendance must be taken. Students must have the ability to make up the work. And this one is really the key. All staff and all students, including students with disabilities, homeless, and EL, have necessary devices and access to Wi-Fi. And then the last one is IEPs are implemented. And so we have not moved to develop that plan because we don't have the funding to support that plan. But we are open for the board's discussion and questions, and if they would like us to pursue that, we would need to include that into our budget.
You would bring up the budget, so how much would that cost additional to prepare for, say, next season? It's snowing, and we're trying not to make up snow days. What does that number look like to make sure that every student has a device to use? I know that we still have pockets of areas where people don't have Wi-Fi. How?
So even, I can attest to where I live, there's no Wi-Fi and hotspots don't work. So I had to use my phone and use the hotspot off my phone. So, and that's, you know, a lot of people, so even if they do have a hotspot, because we tried the hotspot during COVID and it was Verizon, and if you don't get cell service with whatever hotspot you have, you're not getting
right
service. So you're, you're kind of.
So, and before we go down that road, let me ask another question. There was a chart that was given that I think I have a copy of in my email that had all 24 systems on it. And it talked about during those snow days, who was doing virtual and who was closed. Kent County next door was going virtual. How were they able to do it? They have less coverage than we have.
I don't know that I can speak for another superintendent, to be honest with you. This did just change.
Okay.
So it changed from where it was when we were at COVID. This went into effect for this school year. We do have several new superintendents, and maybe they didn't know that changed. I don't know that. I can't really speak for them.
Okay.
But I do know that the cost would be a one-to-one device for all of our pre-K students, a one-to-one device for all of our kindergarten students. It would also include, like you said, the hotspots for students that don't have access, and then for teachers that don't have access. So if I'm a teacher and I live in Talbot County and I don't have access in Talbot County, then we would be responsible for paying for that teachers.
And all of our, it's not just teachers, it's all
I
employees.
mean, all employees, sorry, thank you, Dr. Kibler, thank you for that, because that's a huge clarification.
Why is it all employees and not just teachers?
Your
law
paras
says.
and,
The law says we have to have something for all of our employees to do on those days.
so if I am an EL teacher, I have to be able to provide EL instruction up to 4 hours of synchronous instruction support for students who have that need. I think this would be a challenge. As I said, this has changed for this school year, it just changed. So I probably would understand that some of these districts may be reevaluating for next year. But it would be very challenging for us to accomplish this, and I really appreciate your comments.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it was hard. I know Mr. Watkins, SMS, like all the kids that, you know, even at the elementary school level, that people were going and sitting in the parking lot of the school to use
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
To get access.
Yep.
Still do.
Yep.
Yes.
And it's also a large cost that we might not be able to use because we embed the 5 days into our calendar, and we would have to exhaust all of those first. Now, this year, we only used 4 because we passed the first one. That was the Martin Luther King holiday. So we could put this cost and then not have any snow next winter.
Yeah. I mean, if we had the extra money, I think it would be a good idea, but I mean, it's obviously a board decision. I just think it's a right now, like, obviously bad timing. We don't have the money. And then, like you said, if we spend all this money and then it doesn't snow and.
It's not about just
I didn't
buying the
realize.
computers and giving the one-to-one, it's also the county infrastructure.
True.
So that's something that
And
we
that's what
can't,
you
we
were
can't
saying.
pay
If
for,
you
so,
give it-
right,
They
so.
might not be able to use it anyway.
So there's no point to even go buy this stuff now to get the one-to-one if we can't use it anyway. So that's a further conversation, probably back up to the state again.
I agree.
Or, the county level, I'm sure the commissioner's well aware of what's going on in our county. But at the state level, I know Talkie and some of the other ones have come through and they've done a lot, you know, especially.
They haven't hit
through-
everywhere.
Right, they've done a lot and you see them working, but at the same time, we can't spend the money that we can't even still do the policy in a legal aspect if we don't even have access from the infrastructure.
I mean, I do appreciate, you know, we had a lot of thoughtful parents that emailed us, a lot of thoughtful staff, actually. They're like, you know, have you thought about this? And I really appreciate everybody trying to think outside the box to make sure. But unfortunately, I just feel like at this time, it's just not a good juncture to move in that direction. Maybe in a couple of years, that might be something that's a really viable. I know like there's counties like, I believe Frederick County, I think they have 99% of their students and staff have access with no worries or whatever. That's a district that could do something like this, right? But I think for us, it's just more challenging. But I do, as I said, I really appreciate the conversation, and I appreciate the board putting it on the agenda.
Just so everybody knows, we're not against virtual learning. We just can't do it.
Legally.
We actually want it. We hear the complaints, the gripes, the moans. We hear the suggestions.
The emails, we
I
got
wasn't even
lots of
thinking you
suggestions.
have to teach the pre-K kids. So they'd expect them to have a full day on, or
They are students.
you
in
know
our-
what? That's enough right there.
They're students
Yeah, I
in our-
never,
yeah.
I guess, you just think about the high schoolers and I think a lot of teachers do send stuff home and work home and, without it being mandated, they do what they can.
And we have a lot
like,
of,
here's a packet, study this, do this. And unfortunately, we just can't, take those paper packets and count it as a day of school, so.
Yep, and, I think we have to understand the value that some of our especially our EL students and our special education students, to be able to make sure that they get their IEP hours. And that's sometimes really challenging in a 4-hour synchronous instructional day, so.
And I understand that there's going to be a lot going on that last week of June in the schools, and we understand that. But, we've got to get 180 days in. It does seem like we could do service learning projects or do something with those last days of the school, though.
That doesn't cover all students.
I know she's saying this year, she knows it's extended.
Oh, yeah.
So we can
Like-
do a lot of good things.
Right,
during the last
everybody
week.
keeps saying what's going to happen. I know a lot of, but testing's already done, right? A lot of testing, a lot of grades, graduation's done. But I think there are things that we could look into.
Oh, absolutely.
If the teachers have ideas, if people haven't finished their service learning hours, that would be like a great time for the community to come in and have projects and stuff.
Yeah.
So just a suggestion.
Yeah, great
Yeah, it's
suggestion.
good suggestion. The
Thank
virtual
you all
learning
for-
thing is interesting too. Sorry. The first day we could have used it this year would have been Friday when we had the whole week off of school, which meant we would have had to know the week before that we were going to be a whole week off of school.
Yeah.
And as much as I kept asking Mr. Pender, he would not commit to that on Friday the week before. So,
Yeah, we also got,
It's all your fault we're going to school.
yeah,
yeah,
Our weatherman.
our weatherman.
President Weatherman.
Well, thank you both for all the information. At this time, do we have anybody else for citizen comments, public comments?
They're all sleeping.
Not seeing any, I'm gonna keep moving. Next item up are future meetings. The next meeting of the Board of Ed is May 7th, 6 PM, same bat time, same bat station. At this point, I am going to motion to adjourn.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you and good night.